Welcome to the Great Distraction.
What's up, folks? This is The Great Distraction, and today the topic of discussion is breaking up. My name is Ben, and with me are my co-hosts, Joe.
What's up?
And Thomas.
What's up?
If this is your first time listening, welcome, and we thank you for joining us. The Great Distraction is a podcast that focuses on an infinite range of topics, and we hope that each episode leaves you with, if nothing else, something to ponder. So, gentlemen, for some of us not, this concept of breaking up and long-term relationships, short-term relationships in general, avoiding them like the plague, is on our minds.
On our minds.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that we all have something to say about. Everybody's experienced it unless you've lived.
Well, so what's the worst breakup that you've ever had? What's the most crazy, psycho, crazy, nutty thing that's ever happened to you from a breakup?
I've been pretty fortunate so far. The insanity has been kept to a minimum with how crazy they get. But I'm just going to go ahead and throw this one out there because this was, for me and for the people I've discussed this with already, this was for me the next level experience with respect to breaking up.
All right, sounds good.
Hey, right.
I'm liking this already.
Yeah.
It's pain and misery, and it's for him.
So nice, and it's not you,
I'm
right?
at a safe distance.
Exactly. So for this one was new for me. She must have heard it somewhere. I don't know where she got the idea, but after giving her 4 hours to clear all her stuff out of the place, and and she didn't want me there to make it awkward and whatever. I go back in there and I'm checking around, looking around, like, oh, well, that's missing. Oh, she took that, or oh, damn, that wasn't yours to take. That's not good. For some reason, I decided to go into the drawer, the top drawer, right, where the condoms are. Only to find that the stack of condoms all has little holes in it.
You're joking.
I am not joking. Now it gets better though. Let me go
Holy
ahead.
shit.
Oh yeah.
What did you do, like a water test? How does that go down? I mean,
look at the wrapper.
You
And a
just
nice
look
little
and see
pinhole
tampered
right
with.
through it. No,
It's like looking at Halloween candy, man.
That's right. Here's what gets better though. So first of all, there's a good stack of these. And by a good stack in the little thing, maybe, I don't know, a couple dozen, maybe a dozen. I don't know what it was. It was way more than just a couple, right? And they've all been done, right? So, okay, so somebody took the time. Now, there were other people in the house when she was clearing her stuff out. I don't even 100% know that it was her. Could have been one of the other girls that was there. Nevertheless, giving benefit of the doubt or whatever, the concept is what really stuck with me, okay? And first of all, something like that is there's no way something like that's going to get past me. It was just, I'm well aware of ridiculous things like that. But what I thought was, what is the mindset behind the person who chooses to do this? I understand it's an emotionally invoked, irrational whim out of anger type thing, right? But here's
Revenge.
my... Yeah, that's right. Or vindictive nature or whatever. Okay, fine. But here's the thing. So your plan here was to have me accidentally impregnate someone else, bring another entity into this world that I didn't want, and all by accident because you're unhappy that I was perfectly honest and open to the relationship, and it didn't end the way you wanted it to. So you wanted to fuck up somebody else's life, this unborn person.
Everything changes, dude.
Yes.
Everything. You hear about ugly divorces and stuff. And there's nothing in a divorce or breakup that could happen, I think, at this point that would surprise me.
No, and that's exactly how I felt about it too. I haven't been through too many. Most of the time, I get dumped. So it's me who's, my life is terrible. I'm never going to this, that, and the other. So most of the time, that's how it is.
Do you go mess with her diaphragm?
yeah. Well, wait. The thing that came to my mind first is you guys have been dating for a while. Were you still using condoms?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how long have those holes been there?
Wow. Well, now I can't. Now I don't think, because I usually look at the wrapper at a wrapper every time I wrap.
It breaks out a freaking little.
No, I mean it's just
like
because it's one of those things that's always in the back of my head. However, the interesting part though is it usually wasn't a problem because this particular person I was dating actually couldn't have children. So there was no reason to so you always use condoms anyway, but just because, it's always one of those things where, you couldn't have, thought you said you couldn't have kids, right? This is a whole nother topic.
Ever heard of birth control?
Yeah. Yeah, whatever. That goes into a lot of other things too, but whatever. Trying to make a long story short, usually, I'll take a quick glance at it or whatever. But this person...
See if it holds water.
Yeah, that's right. I got to blow it up first. See
Put
what
it on
I'm
your
sticking
head. Yeah, really.
the other head before that head, right? I think about it for a bit. And, so it's one of those things where you just kind of give it a glance anyway. And then this particular person couldn't have children anyway, and didn't want them. So, I mean, those things, those concerns weren't generally there to begin with.
I think it was one of her friends.
So with what she had brought with her,
because what's more vindictive than a woman that's breaking up with you? Her friends.
Yeah, really, it could be.
That's a good point.
She was with a somewhat younger female that I had never met, and her mother. And so it could have been either or. Yeah,
her mom.
Maybe I have no idea.
Oh, you mean you're not the ex-girlfriend? The girl who came with her, the mom.
No, the ex-girlfriend's mother
came with her to.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, showed up at my house to help her
Talk
move
about a day. I'm glad I wasn't at your place.
I'm glad I wasn't there too. But then it ended up being so that whole separation of who's what, and you had mentioned the divorce thing, and I mean that's exactly how it starts too. We're just going to have an amicable separation, and we don't even need lawyers or whatever until you're going through the list of crap, and all of a sudden it's wait. You can't have that. That's mine. Mm-hmm. We bought that together. You need to pay that out for me. Then all of a sudden, boom, we're done. It goes downhill from there. How many people have involved the divorce attorneys just because the things, that they start separating out and forgot that, you bought that. No, I bought that. There you go. So you start down that path and it's nasty all around.
I was one of those buffers one time for a buddy who was getting divorced.
Yeah.
And they had to arrange the time for her to come and pick up some of her possessions.
Yeah.
And so his lawyer said, "Hey, you should have somebody as a witness." And she knew me not very well, but and I just went, and she was horrible. She belittled him in the most arrogant third grade way possible because she knew that he couldn't say couldn't react back, and her parents were there as well.
Oh yeah. The parents are always there.
And she just said some of the most horrendous things to him just to mess with him.
Yeah.
And I just thought, man, this is unbelievable. And, just
small.
It was just crazy.
It is small. And it's they get very emotionally driven. And so I have to add, too, that this reaction, it doesn't matter how you approach the situation. This is kind of where I want to lead this topic today. It doesn't matter how you manage yourself and how you approach the situation of breaking up, because I assure you, I never cheated on this person. I was never anything but open and honest, very clear. I did not want to get married, very clear. This wasn't going to last forever, very clear. I did not want, whatever. My demands and my
intention,
my criteria and my intentions were never hidden. So I did not do anything that merited,
a slasher.
Doesn't matter though. Doesn't matter. You're missing the rejection.
Key your car, right? Prick on the car.
That's right. Yeah. And
rejection.
So that's exactly it. And I thought that I honestly thought we were on the same page because things had been getting going downhill. So whichever side, the male or the female, or both males, or whatever the situation is, there's always one side who feels more scorned than the other.
Absolutely.
In this. To make that even break is damn near impossible, and to the point where I've even tried waiting till maybe we both disliked each other the same.
I think there's a Seinfeld episode about this.
I mean, there might be. I'm actually going through the entire complete series right now.
Oh, you're gonna find it.
I'm not. Yeah, I'll find it and I'll think about it. I'll think about it. You mentioned it when I do. It doesn't matter how it happens or how good or bad of a person you are through it. Breaking up is hard to do. And it's not. It's never.
Up.
Yeah, that's right.
Hell hath no fury like that of a woman scorned.
Yeah. So exactly. But I kept thinking that too. But the problem with that is I didn't do anything that should have scorned anyone.
It didn't matter.
It didn't matter. It didn't matter in the end.
At the end of the day, you could have been anyone on the planet. This was the moment in her life that was being lived out. Yeah. You just happened to be the other player.
Yeah.
So, and that's one thing I think I learned early in relationships, especially in breakup situations, because you learn a lot about people and yourself when you go through a breakup.
Oh, yeah.
And, if you walk away from that and really examine it, you should learn something about just everything, you in particular, you know. And it's just, I think a lot of people just are so selfish to the fact that if this didn't work or they didn't get what they wanted out of it, that hell has no fury for this, you know.
How dare you take away from me what I thought I was entitled to have? That's exactly what I think it came down to.
Yeah.
Wow.
Just completely not right. But that seems to be the way it goes down. And there's just, so what I'm wondering now is, had I been a bad boyfriend, had I cheated multiple times, had I stole from her, had I done all these things, would it have made the situation exactly the same?
Could have been a lot worse. I don't know.
I guess it could have been.
I acted as a buffer once for a friend that I knew, moderately well, and she was also an artist too. And she asked me and another friend to go, basically escort her to Granite Bay, the guy's parents' house, in the middle of the night when he was working, which was like 10 o'clock, to go get her stuff out. So, all right, cool, I'll help you out with that. You've hooked me up with some cool glass and some cool art. Let's go. So we get there and park the car. We get out, and we get out first, and we walk up to the garage and turn around, and she steps out of her vehicle with an axe. Shit you not. Walks up to the garage door, the side garage door, and starts axing through the door so that she can get into the garage to get all of her art equipment.
Oh boy!
Had the police called on us. We just stepped back. She looked to me for help, and I was like, I didn't know I was signing up for this. I'm not about to start axing down this random person's door.
Oh my!
It was intense.
See, that branches right into breaking and entering. So now you're a thief, even if you are getting your own stuff, which sucks. And that was one of the reasons I wanted to give her the opportunity to just go in there and get her stuff out herself. Now, what did that equate to? She took about, by my money, by my addition in my head, about $2,000 worth of stuff that was not hers at all. She didn't pay for, and so okay, I don't know what I'm going to do about that, but that's a whole other topic. But that's what happens when you entrust somebody, regardless of the situation, to be an adult and handle the situation in a respectable manner. Nope.
You got a 50-50 shot of that.
You really do.
Any human you ever deal with.
That's true.
And in that situation, I think you got maybe a 20-80 shot.
Yeah.
20, it might work.
Yeah. Exactly.
And that's another thing too. You look at the legal ramifications of like being in relationships in places like California who have like, what's the law?
We were talking about, we mentioned this
thing,
before, the common law or commonwealth
like
or something like that.
Yeah, and if you're just dating or people are just dating, it's easy to hang out with somebody that you get along with for a few years or something, but it's this legal ramifications of what is this and what is that when you break up with somebody and what you can, and it instantly becomes like a domestic dispute.
Yeah.
If anything goes wrong.
Yeah.
So you can be a normal person that's never had anything crazy happen in your life. You're dating somebody, things aren't really working out. You say, look, I want to break up. She goes batshit crazy.
Yep.
And then the next thing you know, the cops are there and you're in handcuffs.
Yeah.
At your place.
Yep.
That you pay rent for.
Yeah. Did you own
that is in
one
your
or the other?
name, or is your and it's just like it just doesn't matter. It's just that whole part of dating and relationships is probably what bothers me the most.
Yeah.
The about ending. modern dating. It's not that. Oh, I can never find somebody. I'm lonely. Blah blah blah. Well, you know what? Would it better to be lonely or to be stalked?
Yeah.
Is it better to be lonely or to be in jail for pushing someone or touching someone?
Yeah.
Or even worse, it's her story against yours.
So
always
she can
say whatever she wants happen, basically.
And that's it's a kind of an oddball situation, I realize, but that's one of the reasons I have cameras in my house. It's like, no, let me show you what went down. As long as I stay within
brilliant idea.
As long as I stay within the visional, the peripheral vision of these cameras, I can say, nope.
Judge, you'll notice at no point was there a gap longer than 0.0002 seconds as changing from one camera angle to the second.
Yep.
This altercation was 38 minutes, and I'm accountable for every single part of that.
That's yeah. So covering CYA, right? It always comes down to that in some degree, which is really, really unfortunate. It's honestly making me scared to date again, because you keep it short term. They can, you can really hurt somebody's feelings if they're expecting something else. You keep it long term, they're not done with you, and you can still hurt somebody's feelings. And I guess it depends on what you have to lose in life. If you don't care and you have nothing to lose, then whatever, you got nothing to lose, right? If you have a lot to lose, or at least a lot of money to lose in a sense, well then shoot, then you're like, man, I spent a long time building all of that stuff up, and to have somebody who didn't help at all with it. It's very discouraging that could happen again. Yeah,
I'm always surprised at how heavy the legal rights are for people who are dating.
That's
like
crazy.
the common law kind of thing. Like, I don't know a lot about it, but it just seems scary that you're like, look, we're two people, lots of people in lots of relationships at some point just become friends and just live together. I know lots of people who are been living together for 20 years and they're just friends that maybe they dated forever ago, but they're the only good roommates they've ever had or whatever. They get along and they stick around or whatever, but that's a common law marriage.
Yeah.
If you're sharing the same. Another thing too is like when you're dating or if you're sharing an apartment or something with somebody, and I learned this from other people. I hope it never comes back to me. But if you live somewhere and you don't have like a utility or something in your name, and you're dating someone and the police show up,
you don't live there.
You don't live there.
Nope.
You have no.
You're not on the lease. You're not. You can't crash with somebody, and then they can kick you out whenever you want if you got no legal presence there or whatever.
So it's like you got to have one utility.
Something. Well, ideally, both people should be on
SMUD.
Both people should be on the lease. I mean, ideally, you would have both on the lease.
But again, it doesn't always work out that way. It might be someone else's house. Like.
Oh, there's no lease.
Yeah, and there's no lease
or
something. There could be lots of situations and scenarios I think that people can get trapped in. It's just kind of sad.
True. Yeah, and it's unfortunate. So I guess the angle I wanted to take with this, or one of the ones I was hoping to hit here, is there? Well, again, I think we've already answered it. I wanted to ask: is there any way to break up with somebody? And it doesn't matter if you're man, girl, two girls, two boys, whatever your situation is. Amicably, I mean, positively.
I think the only thing you could do is say, "I'll call you tomorrow," and have a pre-bought plane ticket to another country or another hemisphere.
If you have a way out like that, sure. But like if they live,
where you're planning, like when I walk away from you, I'm getting on an airplane. That's how much I want to be away from you.
Yep.
In 5 years, I'll come back, and if you're still around, we'll talk.
Yeah. So what you're saying is out of reach. If you can get out of reach of that person, and then they can't, obviously, if they can't hurt you via your bank account or some whatever other information or they have of yours.
Yeah.
Then if you get out of reach, okay, I'll buy that.
That's been my winning strategy. if there is one. Yeah, I mean, because I've lived in lots of other cities and stuff, and just floating around, working and doing things, and you date people or whatever, but. It's also been kind of nice because I've been in a couple of longer relationships that, we're in a city and then I end up moving or whatever, we break up, or then because we broke up, I was like, well, there was no reason for me to really stay here. I can go here, or maybe I want to live here or whatever. But being able to leave the city was amazing. Yeah. I mean, it was like turning a page to a brand new book.
That's right. You're opening a new door and walking right through it.
Yep. Avoid all that awkwardness of potentially running into them at a bar some night while you're out with friends.
That's not going to be good. Yeah.
And I think that's probably where some of the crazy psychotic things kind of come from. Is that if you're in the same city with somebody, you've had a horrible breakup with them, you run the same circles, you have a lot of the same friends. Now you're breaking up the friends. Who's on whose side?
Yeah. Well, in that aspect, I'm lucky because we didn't really have any mutual friends. So.
That is lucky.
Yeah, that is lucky.
I'd call that.
She didn't.
You can't go to this bar anymore. Or you can't go to that place anymore.
And we didn't do bar scene at all.
And I actually have had a lot of people talk to me about that, about living in Midtown, because it's a relatively small grid. And then, if you like a certain type of bar, then there's only so many. Those groups run those handful of bars.
Yeah,
so people will end up avoiding, the bars that they would go to because they didn't want to cause drama.
That sucks.
Get pulled into something like that while intoxicated.
Oh yeah,
and which can escalate,
which makes it worse.
Yeah,
that is tough. So,
but I mean, I'd say that's about as amicable as you're going to get. I mean,
that's kind of what I'm feeling. I was discussing.
At least she wasn't axing your door down.
That's true. We're not yet, anyway. All the stuff
I
that she
took. I think the plane ticket's
ticket's
really the hot.
Yeah. Well, it's tough when you own the home, though. You can't really leave the city.
Yeah,
I was talking to one of my friends about the situation, and her response, which I think is funny, but I didn't really agree with him as it pertained to my situation, was, well, that's just cost of doing business.
There you go. Yeah.
Wow.
And I thought
collateral damage.
Yeah.
Wonder if you can get insurance for collateral damage from bad relationships.
Yeah. I suppose if you tied a police report to it, yes, you could. But then you're pressing charges essentially against that person. That maybe you want to do that. I'm not considering.
So this is a fresh situation for you.
Oh yeah.
And today the thought of dating.
Right now, yeah.
Right this very second. How exactly is it running through your brain right now?
Oh, man. More work than it's worth at this point. It's just kind of, I think for men, you got to give it a little while until you get tired of not it goes back to the old saying for us, you can't live with them, can't live without them. It's only a matter of time before you got to scratch that itch again, and you'll be out looking. But you have to, walk away, lick your wounds a little bit, forget what happened, and desensitize to it a little bit, and
ditch some baggage,
Yeah,
so you're not carrying it around for the next one.
For the next one, exactly. And then you'll, you get back on that bicycle and go for another ride, man. Just got to find a new ride, new bike,
right? In a new neighborhood,
in a new neighborhood, in a new city.
Not near my bar.
Oh man, yeah.
Yeah, I never had any like super crazy things happen, but I did have a breakup that strung out for like a couple of months when I was really young. I was like 18, 19, dating this girl, and all of a sudden she broke up with me. And I thought, okay, well, whatever. I was, 18, 19 years old. I was a little devastated, and tried to come back and try to communicate and try to figure out a way of solving my problem, blah, blah, blah. Kept going back up my way. One day, like 3 weeks later, a month later, I decided, man, I'm going to do something stupid. I'm going to send her flowers to work, which I would never do in this day and age ever. But you're like 18.
So you were trying to win her back?
Yeah, I was trying to win her back,
okay.
And so I do. And then I find out that this other girl who works in her office made a big stink about this. So she got a hold of me and said, don't ever do that, blah, blah, blah. We're not allowed to have personal stuff delivered at our work. Blah, blah,
wow.
Blah. And I thought, okay, and then, wow, I feel like a total dick.
She's the one who needed the flowers sent to her.
She needed something, I don't know. So anyway, some time goes by, and then things just start to fall apart in like the story. And I come to find out that the girl who threw a fit was the sister of the guy she's dating right now.
Oh, wow.
And has been dating for like 3 months. We've been broke up for about a month.
Awesome. The plot thickens.
And it just, and I was just like, and it was just figuring it out. But I think at that age, learning something and seeing how conniving someone can be, or just getting a window of like, you got to pay attention.
That's a good learning event.
A good learning experience.
Yes.
For an 18, 19-year-old person. And
Big time.
I definitely walked away with it. Changed a lot.
And then in that situation, you can get so inside your own head, and you're thinking, okay, there's something that I did wrong, that I'm doing wrong, and like you said, something maybe you could change, but then you took the next step kind of thing. You took a step in a different direction, and you got more of the whole picture.
Yeah.
You got out of your head, and you saw the reality of the situation. So I bet you felt completely different about that situation when you found out the facts.
Yeah.
Well, I did that for sure, and it happened a lot quicker than I thought it would, and I was a lot more like happy about going, man,
right.
You know what? That was good. That I won that battle.
Right.
Less than 2 months later, I found out she was pregnant.
Wow.
And of course, it was this kid.
Wow.
But yeah, I walked away from that a very wiser soul.
But so we can disillusion ourselves. We have such strength in our minds.
Yep.
We can create all kinds of realities for ourselves and just beat ourselves up left and right. Over something, a situation that's not even factual
as you perceived it. Yeah.
Right.
And so in those types of situations, you just got to walk away thinking, man, I dodged a bullet with that one, man.
If you're still alive and you're breathing and you're pointed in a direction, you got something to do, you're all right.
Yep.
And it's a thing too. I think especially for a lot of guys as they get older, both sexes as they get older have strange dating things, and it's a little more uncomfortable. You're not in like a big social circle like high school, college, where there's all these opportunities. You're trying to work, you're trying to pay rent. Not a lot of time to do much of anything.
Yeah.
The one thing I've always noticed with friends of mine that are single or right out of a relationship, they're just like, oh, I'm so sad, I'm so lonely, and I'm like, I get that. I understand you're lonely. I understand you're sad. I understand what I'm saying, but anytime you've ever been in a relationship and you've thought for one fucking iota of a second, if I could just get out of this relationship right now, everything would be better. Everybody has done it.
It's a grass
Go
is greener
back to that. It's exactly that. It's all about perspective. Joe, you say it all the time. It's all about perspective, because every time I would go through a relationship and in my 20s or early 30s and stuff and break up with people, as soon as I broke up, I was just like, what was I wanting to do 6 months ago?
Yeah.
A year ago?
Yeah, when this sounded great, like a good idea.
I'm like, man, what could I just do that I only have to worry about me?
Yeah.
And I think it's a great learning opportunity. It's a good time to grow for people.
Absolutely.
But
absolutely.
Yeah,
I've heard
they
many
drowned
people,
it in that sadness and sorrow and booze, and
well, you get past that. And not everybody goes through that.
and not everybody gets past that.
That yeah, that's true.
I got a buddy that's still mad from a breakup in high school, and he's been married and through 8 or 9 more relationships, and he just carries them all like extra bags that get heavier and heavier all the time.
Oh, terrible, man.
That sounds terrible.
That sounds
That's
really bad.
Awful.
Especially terrible for the
creating your own prison cell that you.
baggage.
Yeah.
Baggage, especially for all the people that he's been with since, and
Oh, yeah.
along the way, like
Yeah.
they didn't do anything
They're
to
just
deserve
all
that.
part of the bigger puzzle
Yeah.
of poop that he got on his head.
Yep, they
You
didn't
know.
even do anything to deserve
Look how
that.
heavy this hat of poop is.
Don't I look good wearing it? I must, because
Wear
you're
the
dating
party
me.
hat.
Yeah, it's a poopy party hat.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just perspective. But yeah, the whole breaking up thing, I don't think, every time I've ever even remotely been in a situation where I know things are going south or just this isn't working out, or maybe, we need to talk or whatever. And I had a breakup one time because we both wanted to live in different places. And that
Like
was
same
really
city or different.
states.
Oh, wow,
Like
okay.
like she wanted to go back to where she had grown up, which was
I
Cleveland.
can see that happening.
And I didn't want to go furthermore in the snow. I wanted to move out west.
Yeah.
And we just kind of was like, man, we just kind of talked about it, and we were together and we enjoyed each other, and we were like, look, this is why I want to go. And I had my reasons, and we were just like, all right, well, let's just help each other out and get things going and get out of
Yeah.
here. And it was super.
That's crazy.
It was
That's
crazy
nice.
like that, but it was also one of those things. Was like, I feel like in some way we talked ourselves into thinking that so that we could, I don't know, be okay with it or whatever. But anyway, I remember the saddest thing for me was I dropped her off with all her stuff at her parents' place, and I drove away, and she walked out into the driveway, and I could just see her standing there in the rearview mirror as I drove away, and I had this feeling in me that I was like, we didn't really have to end any of this. We just decided because we both want to go other places.
That's the worst.
It was just really weird.
Yeah.
That was a weird breakup.
That's some Hollywood movie type stuff right there.
Something, man. I don't know.
That's terrible. Yeah.
I called it my 20s.
Yeah, I think
Nice.
that the feeling of loneliness, though, it's something that oftentimes everybody, maybe most people, I know I'm guilty of it too at one point or another, kind of slips into. And it's I can't really explain it, but like really, human beings, part of being a human being is to be alone. And I read this great Aldous Huxley quote one day that just like everything sort of clicked. It's like it's kind of a long quote. I could look it up and find it if wanted to, but we're all alone as it is. We just try and convince ourselves otherwise. And just because you don't have a significant other doesn't mean you have to be alone. You can go find friends or even of the opposite sex, still get some of those boxes checked that you want.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
feel okay, more content in that regard.
And I think in in this current situation I've just gotten out of, it hasn't bothered me too much yet. Now, granted, it's only been a week at this point, but nevertheless,
You're still on the return to breathing.
Yeah,
Return to breathing.
and that may be it. So we'll see how it pans out. But I feel that the situation's been on a decline for the last couple of years, and I knew this was coming for the last couple of years. So over that time, I've kind of planned as to how I would
exit strategy.
Well, no, not actually.
Ben's exit
I
strategy.
didn't have that
Relations
planned.
101.
Just how I would handle being, single again, basically, and it's based, and like Joe had said, that's basically the angle I took with it. Is I actually felt in ways alone in the relationship anyway. So what is the difference exactly?
It's human nature.
Yeah, as long as I have, friends around me, I mean, even one friend to hang out with would be enough, I think. You're not alone. You're not sitting in your house or whatever by yourself. I mean, you'll have those nights too. Maybe you won't. But there are ways to prepare yourself for it if you know what's coming and you know how to handle it. If it's not your first time at the rodeo, you'll figure it out. If
A
it
little
is,
quicker each time.
yeah, exactly. It's easier every time. But if it is your first time, well, then welcome to the club, buddy. You'll get through it, and we all go through it. It's horrible for all of us, and remember it.
Yeah,
Because,
one of the things I think that a lot of adults that I know are my age, if they're in a relationship, especially long-term relationships, when they become single at certain ages, I think some people get depressed because they get a lot of flack from their family.
Yeah, from everybody around you.
Everybody around you, like, oh, you should do this, or they want their opinion or whatever, or they want you to have kids or whatever.
Yeah, so Thomas, going off of the fear concept, that's a whole nother that brings up a whole nother idea in my head. How many people stay in relationships just based upon that fear of the flack that they're going to get from their family and friends, and the whole process itself, and then how much worse does that make the situation, being that I'm not going to break up with this person. I don't want to deal with it. I'm afraid of what my family's going to say. I'm afraid of what my friends are going to say. I'm afraid of how bad the breakup's going to be. So you stay in this bad relationship, or this, maybe it's not even bad. It's just a situation that you know is ready to end. So you're staying in it longer and longer, and things are actually building up so that the breakup is going to be worse. So in a sense, you become your own.
You accidentally get married during that time?
Dude, seriously.
Or have kids.
Yes. How many people
kids.
think it's going to get better when they decide they're going to the relationship isn't working? We just need a little spice in it. Let's get married, or we just need a child. We'll make a love child here, and this child will bring love
We'll
between.
stretch the baby over the Band-Aid that is our relationship.
Yes, or the baby. Hopefully, the baby will become the Band-Aid, right? And oh man. So how many times do people utilize those excuses, or that fear rather, that excuse of fear? It only makes things worse. I mean, that it's got to be very possible.
Well, and I think in other cultures, in certain cultures, it's probably a lot more dominant than we see in America as well. Here in America, we're kind of expecting to date and break up with people and do things. And, places like India and things like this, obviously, is a little different world. But I think even here, I have friends that are super tight with their family and their friends and stuff. I mean, their family and cousins and everything else. Mm-hmm. That's great. I never really was. I knew my cousins, hung out with them, stuff like that, but, none of us talk. Yeah. I don't even talk to my stepsisters, and so for me, it's hard to relate to that, but I see a lot of people, and I have conversations with friends about things, or like, oh, they're getting married, and they told me about how they're preparing for the wedding and stuff, and there's so much family, like, shoving ideas, and what's this going to be, and what's that going to be, and I do think a lot of people get trapped in that, where they feel like, their parents like this person or something, or they're think they let things get too deep when they weren't sure if they really like this person, and now it's 2 years later and wedding plans, because the family thinks it's what you should do, and you're listening to them because they're your elders or whatever your case is. But
now it's not even about your feelings; it's about pleasing the feelings of all the people you've involved in this situation.
Yeah. The clan.
Yeah, the rest of the pack, right? I seek approval from the rest of the family unit.
And some people do. I mean, I know lots of guys who really, really need the approval of their fathers and their parents in general and things like that.
Yeah. Mom's really got to like her.
Yeah, if my mom doesn't like you, it's over.
It's over. It's a deal. It's a deal.
I feel like it's 1961 when I hear that.
Yeah, well, in other cultures, arranged marriages is all about extending the family.
Yeah.
And a lot of those are done for political reasons and for wealth, movements and wealth.
And they seem to actually last too.
Because they're mafias.
Yeah. I think that
divorce isn't such a readily available option in those cultures too.
On top of that, I think that they haven't experienced the concept of multiplicity, if you will. They are raised into the point when they do get married, and that's it. There's one relationship. They weren't allowed to talk to boys or girls, the rest of the time. There weren't in our culture. We've talked about this before with the throwaway culture, right? We're raised in every aspect of our life that everything is replaceable, everything is disposable. So why wouldn't our friendships and relationships be that way? I mean, there's always plenty more people to meet and plenty more
You can unfriend anybody.
Yeah, you can, exactly. With a click of a button, you can unfriend them. You can also remove them from your life. And likewise, well, if you're not happy in this relationship, oh, honey, it's okay. Mama knows. Just dump him. You'll find a new one. Don't worry. Whereas back in the day, it was, no, you're going to find another one. That's the one you're stuck with. Make it work. Mm-hmm. Oh, he likes beating you? Well, join the club.
Get used to being beat.
Yeah, start wearing padded clothing. It was messed up like that back then. And I hate that too, because the argument, when you bring that up, you get the argument from people that, what happened to this place? We used to have, my grandparents were married 47 years or whatever, or my parents have been married 50 years and they still love each other. Yes, monogamy does work for some. However, when you start going, and I can speak to this from my own grandparents, they've been married, they just hit 60 years a couple of years ago, and we had a big party, it was great. But back in that time, women were not allowed to have opinions. You didn't vote. You didn't talk.
It was a lot different world.
That's right.
60 years ago.
So, of course, a two-person relationship is going to work when only one person's decisions and suggestions and rules and everything matter.
Yeah,
it becomes a whole lot easier.
We're still, in America, we're still looking at a generation that is alive and still somewhat dictates power among others that grew up with those mindsets. And that's the crazy thing about the world, is how much it changes and how people change.
Within a generation.
Within a generation, especially 2 or 4 generations. I mean, those are ginormous things. And so, yeah, seeing how they respond to that. But, yeah, they would never get married. You'd ask them if they were ever happy.
Yeah.
You know, at 48 years, I was happy for about 8 weeks.
Yeah. But
when
I
you went to
stayed married.
go see your sister.
Yeah, but they stayed married through it all, or maybe they really did love each other. I mean, like I said, monogamy does work for some people, and that's awesome for them. That they figured out what they wanted in life. Where the problem comes in is when society puts a tabooism on people who have figured out that monogamy doesn't work for them. And that's the part that's
You're
wrong.
going against the grain.
That's right. So it's not an open-minded situation. I mean, as it never is with that type of stuff. But yeah, and that's no good. So that I think is one of the many things that can add to a fear of breakup and going through that, and therefore trying to avoid it, which in turn can just make it that much worse. And who the heck wants that? I mean, it doesn't work for anyone.
Apparently, the girl who poked all those holes in those condom wanted it to be worse.
Man, yeah, somebody wanted somebody to have a bad time. That's for sure.
You know, and I've never had anybody go vindictive on me yet.
Well,
You
you're
know,
lucky.
Never had that. I had a girl throw stuff at me.
I was just going to say, I've had the throwing before, and I couldn't believe that, or breaking things that I purchased for them. It's like, wow, that was a gift for you.
The throwing at me was she threw something at me in the parking lot at my job.
Wow. Classy.
Like, keep
All
it
your
classy,
coworker,
honey.
yeah.
I would have never went to you where you work and threw something at you in the parking lot. You know, why don't you just like spray paint my car while you're outside or something? You know, it was terrible, and I felt like that was another one of those moments that I really changed a lot about what I think about people, how I judge people, who I date, what kind of person. You know, you see those things. Like I said, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Yeah. When a breakup happens, you see stuff you never would have dreamed.
I had a police officer tell me that one time that doing that job, you know that everybody is a potential suspect or a potential perpetrator
or victim.
Exactly. You see even the best of and most controlled people snap and do the worst things. So now nobody is safe to look at. Basically, everybody is potentially a monster, if you will. You know?
Yeah. Years ago, I was working in Chicago. In this really exclusive, neighborhood. It was a golf course, community kind of thing. And we had to come in and out at certain times, whatever we were working there. And we were leaving, and all of a sudden these 4 or 5 cop cars just blah, blah, blah through there, lights flashing and everything. And I looked at the security guy at the door, and I was like, wow, that seems crazy, right? And he's like, nope. And I said, well, what do you mean? He goes, oh, I see that all the time.
Yeah.
And I was like, why are half a dozen cop cars rushing through this, $1 billion gated community? He's like, oh, domestic violence.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. Yep. Expensive drugs make people crazy.
A lot of room in that house to throw people.
Yeah. And a lot of nice things to throw, too. Just pick a $3,000 vase. Toss it across the room. That's a good one. Yeah, that's definitely the ugly side of it.
Well, at least if if any of us get divorced, we're not going to pay out $240 million in the settlement.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you can only squeeze so much blood from that turnip. That's right. Well, and the other thing, too, is you got to get married to fall into that trap. So as long as you don't get married, you'll never have to pay the divorce.
That's the whole, the live-in thing again.
And I don't think that's quite as bad as the divorce situation, but yeah, and that's also a California thing, too. I mean, a lot of people.
Well, I think every state has sort of a version of that.
Okay. Yeah.
I heard at one time when I was living back east that Ohio and Indiana both had laws like that. And they were shorter than 10 years. They were like 6 and 7.
Boy.
Wow.
It's, really protecting those people who decide to live together, live out of wedlock. What do they play house?
Sinners.
Yes, those city exactly. So I wouldn't believe. Yeah, I believe that in the Bible Belt. Sure, they're going to.
You guys ain't married in 8 months. We're going to lynch you both.
So you're disavowed from the what do they call annexed from the religion, whatever they call that. Until you guys marry, then you can repent and you're fine.
And it'll be a shotgun wedding, though.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Kneeling.
Yeah.
No
yes.
arch.
Yes. With the shotgun in the back of your head. Awesome. Yeah. I mean, so either you guys got any other stories you want to talk about as far as the bad breakups?
And I was trying to think of things because we've all seen friends go through stupid things, and you sit back and go, "Man, I'm glad I'm not in."
Exactly. It's like, man, that sucks. I'm glad that's not me.
And I've definitely had friends who've had cars vandalized,
Oh,
flat
man,
tires, spray painting, keyed, the key thing.
The damaging of other people's property, dude, I just can't get past. Never in my, I mean, and sure, I've had plenty of people that have, angered me over the years,
But do you think there should be a specific law about domestic related vandalism things?
For all I know, there already is. I
is.
don't know, but vandalism is vandalism. Doesn't matter what the motivation is, right? I mean, Some guy could be spray painting his tribute to his brother who just died of some bad reason or whatever. Sorry, man, that really sucks that happened to you, but it doesn't give you a right to go vandalize something, right? Or decide to drive
do it on the wall of Winco.
Yeah, just find a really crappy part of town where they won't care, and you can go spray paint whatever tribute you want. But so it's still not a justified vandalism, and I'm pretty sure I've heard of situations where the guy has or whatever. Well, usually it's girls that do that kind of stuff from my experience. So not to sound sexist, but I don't think I've ever heard of a guy getting mad at the girl and going to spray paint her car or key something in her car or take nail polish to the windshield to the paint or whatever. I don't hear about those creative things. I think generally girls are more creative. For example, have you ever heard of a guy going and poking holes in a girl's diaphragm?
I'm gonna run your pantyhose.
Yeah. I don't think those things typically
That's
happen.
That's how 11th grade I am.
Yeah, I suppose it could happen to anybody, and now I forgot where I was going with that.
Well, it's fun to watch a friend go through it, and you see them both go into just degrade in intelligence and intellectual ability to communicate.
You watch a whole situation fall apart. Oh, that's what I was going to say. Pressing charges, right? I don't know that I've known anybody who's had to go that route, but I know that there's definitely been situations where they thought about going that route because you're angry that somebody's treated you so unfairly and stooped to a level of of committing crime, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, and especially with social media nowadays too, you can
the slandering.
Stalk people,
and the slandering. Oh, geez.
Yeah.
And I've been lucky with that so far. The last couple of relationships I had, we were not even friends on Facebook or whatever.
That was before cell phones.
Yeah, I'm not that old, but I've just been lucky in the last couple of girls. They did not like social media and they didn't participate. So I'm like, that's cool. I don't really want to talk to you on the phone, in person, the texting, the email. Now I got to do this, the Facebook, the Instagram. Oh my God, why didn't you like my post? Oh, no.
Nothing like getting an Instagram about being mad that you didn't respond to the Facebook post that they emailed you about.
Have we not seen that? Relationships fighting on Facebook? People like couples fighting through Facebook? I'm like,
I've not been witness.
We have seen this.
Airing out the dirty laundry on Facebook.
Just what, dude? You want to take it to the streets? No, take it to social media. I mean, wow, that blew me away, man. I have yet to see somebody actually break up. But I have seen the multiple fights, and just wow. And then they got to go through and try and delete it all and clean it all up.
Oh yeah.
Wait, where was that post you made? I was looking for that. I wanted to show my friend that was really funny, but nope, it's gone now.
Yeah, and then that's a scary thing too. The world that we're entering in now, there's a trail of everything you've said or done. Yeah. If you text somebody, especially if you're in a relationship and you're mad and you text them and you can tell it's an offensive or an aggressive, comment.
Yeah.
That could be used against you.
Threats. If you're making threats.
Yeah, now
right?
It's a threat.
Yeah. Oh, and okay. So I just have to throw this in there. It's a little off topic, but it's along those lines. I was reading an article a couple days ago about apparently in the UK. I think the guy said he lived. It is part of their national government law that requires companies to, if asked by the patron or the customer, to divulge all private information that they have on them. Right. So they have to send them everything supposedly. Mm-hmm. How are you going to know if it's everything? I don't know, but that's what their law says, right? So it's a cost. It's part of their doing business there. So this guy, he requests from Tinder about to send him everything, right? And so they do, and he says he gets an 800-page document from them, a PDF or whatever it was, right? And he's going through this, and it's all his Tinder activity, obviously, the conversations with his matches, and anybody messages he sent to other people, his profile, people's profiles that he had interacted with. But what surprised him was the connections that went beyond Tinder. It was his retweeted Tinder matches. It was his Facebook posts. It was things that they had talked about doing on a date or whatever with a match, where they're going to go here, and that was recorded. It was matching that to AdWords that were showing up in his Google. It was a web of information spawned from all the seeds he willingly gave them just by using a cell phone app. And you have to remember, Tinder, unless in other countries, I don't know. Maybe in the UK there's an actual website aspect to Tinder, which would help to blend it with your cookies and your search engine data and all that other stuff, right? So maybe that helped over there. I don't know. But here in the US, as of now, Tinder does not have a website. In fact, they're advertising that they're going to have one, apparently. So this is all from a cell phone app. Just from staring at your phone, all that information was given and collected.
It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, can you imagine if we had that in America and we hit up the Instagram? Imagine if you hit up all the social media aspects that you use. Google, I would love to see all the information Google has put together on me from my email, chats, because I use Google Chat sometimes,
yeah.
Google Drive.
It's all documented.
Google searches. Everything. It's unimaginable. It would probably be thousands of page document.
Oh yeah.
So with that, they can create relationship trends. They can find out why. They can probably tell
who your best match would be.
Google can probably tell me why my relationship it didn't work better than I can tell myself. They're like, well, man, based on a statistical analysis of your normal buying patterns and tastes in women and the porn you watch and anything, we know that this girl was never really what you were into anyway. Here we have this artificial intelligence chick who will be great for you. And now I'm thinking of some ex machina stuff, right? Just take a chance, man. Take a chance.
My God, they've got you pinned. They have everything that you do.
That's
and
it,
everything
man.
you don't want them to think.
And I just keep giving them more. That's it just keeps going down that path.
Wow.
So I'm wondering, that being the case, and people involved in their lives revolve their lives so much around social media, and social media is involved so much in their life, when is it going to be socially acceptable, if not the norm, to break up with someone online?
Just not
People
in person
already
at all.
do it.
Yeah, text messages.
Yeah, okay. So it's in my mind, it's a digital version of I got the plane ticket in hand. I'm out of here. I'm leaving.
You have
this
no
city.
idea where I'm at.
Yeah, I could be. That's right. I could be breaking up with you via Instagram in a bar in Seattle,
In Iceland.
in Iceland, on a beach in Florida. I could be anywhere.
At your cousin's house.
Yeah. Yeah, the next significant other, and she's over here rooting me on.
Right? What a catastrophe. So what we've learned today, what have we learned today about dating and breaking up? Don't do it. Have a plane ticket and a
Jeez.
passport and $1,000 cash
Lock
with
up
you at
your
all
condoms.
times. Lock up
Only
your
pull out
condoms.
what you need.
So we've learned lock up your condoms, have a passport and a plane ticket, $1,000 cash,
Be prepared to disappear.
disappear.
Oh, I got another one. Yeah, since you had brought up, and I know I wanted to hit on this too, but I had forgotten until just now. You had brought up the whole pressure from the family members, and your friends or whatnot. That's pressure not really to break up, or no, you were talking about pressure to break up, but there's another kind of pressure that comes from family members. And this is something that I'll have to deal with to a certain degree, and I'm not too worried about it, but it will be there. And for other people, it'll be much worse. Now, little Linda or Timmy is gone from the family, and Grandma really liked little Timmy, and Grandma doesn't understand why you would do this, because Grandma's been with Grandpa for 800 years. They were born out of the same womb. Okay, how could you? There must be something wrong with you. You're a bad person. She was such a sweet girl.
Well, that's the one, too. I remember I had a girlfriend one time that my mom really liked, and it taught me a lesson. Don't introduce anybody to my mom.
Right.
That happens to me every
That was
Yeah.
That was what I
learned
learned.
that one before.
Yeah, I've learned that one now.
You guys have been dating 7 years. When I'm going to meet her? She's out of town.
Yeah, no, and I've told my mother already on that one. Mom, you know what? This is the last time you're meeting one, unless I think I'm going to marry her and stay with her the rest of my life. So maybe you're never meeting a girl again. But that
was a hard lesson.
Seriously, that it was. Yes, it has been multiple times. I hope I finally learned it. But it's a sticky situation, because when you don't want to take the person you've been dating for, you can only push that on for so long, so long, because then inevitably they're going to start asking, well, wait, you don't want me to meet your family? Like, why don't you want me to meet your family? Oh, how many excuses are you going to go through before you're like 5, 6, 7 years, 10 years, and you still never see it? You laugh
at that point. You're winning.
Right, you're winning. You laugh because it's ridiculous, right? I mean, how do you tell somebody for 10 years you're not going to meet my family? I mean, it's like impossible to do because
they live in Nova Scotia, Ireland,
I can't
Brazil.
afford tickets to go out there. I can't afford to take you. Sure, you can start making up some excuses, but sooner or later that's going to become a problem. And if it doesn't, here's what I wonder. If it doesn't become a problem and he or she really doesn't care, is that a problem?
Jeez, talk about overthinking it.
I mean, oh yes.
Man,
That's
I'm a
something that
master.
I've definitely learned as well, though, and I'm always kind of like cautious about integrating significant others into groups of friends. Because then before you know it, your girl hit it off with one of your friends, female friends.
Oh, yeah.
They're hanging out.
Yep.
And then it just gets sticky. It's like, you really have to be sure about that person before you start bringing them around. And even then, it's inviting
But
that in.
it's really hard to do because you'll end up on a weekend will come and you're like, hey, my group of friends is doing something and I want to go hang out with them. Well, you did that last weekend though, and now you don't want, why I can't come. It's really hard to maintain that if you're actually in a relationship, because there's only so many times you can tell somebody you don't want them to hang out with you, or there's only so many times you can suggest, well, why don't you go have fun with your friends? And inevitably they're going to want to meet your friends, and it's really hard to not, to keep the relationship and not give them that.
Because if you do it for too long, it's almost like you're living two separate lives.
Yeah, or you're ashamed of her. I've gotten that one. Do you not think I'm
You're
pretty?
lying to me.
Or you're lying to me? Are you seeing somebody else? I mean, there's no good way it can go if you're in the relationship. Now, if you're casually dating, and both sides understand that you're casually dating, because sometimes I've been thinking I was casually dating and
somebody else didn't think.
Yeah,
that.
apparently I was in a relationship and I was only supposed to be with one person, and that didn't work out well. Okay, fine, that can happen too, but. As long as both people are completely aware that you are still seeing other people, which some people a lot of times don't actually specify.
And then there's always those people who say they're cool with it in the beginning.
Oh yeah, that's the worst. Yeah, be upfront and honest about everything. I mean, geez, just nip it at the bud.
Well, I thought I was okay with it until I saw her.
Yeah.
Did you see her shoes?
Yeah.
You would fuck her instead of me.
I would fuck her instead of me. Yeah, exactly. They'll start turning around on themselves. Exactly. Yeah, and that can just play. It's really hard to do to keep the two separated, and then even more so, it's it can be difficult to find people to date that are okay with dating other people. Not everybody seems to be brainwashed that they all are going for the long-term goal, and the long-term goal.
Well, they've been trained to think that
as
part of that whole deception of this lifestyle that you're supposed to lead. Like everybody's supposed to have a 9-to-5 job. Everybody's supposed to do this. When it comes to relationships, especially as your parents or people get older, everybody's going to hear, "When am I going to get grandkids?"
Oh, inevitably. Yep.
My mom stopped asking me that years ago.
Yeah. I think my parents have given up on that too, but I'm sure they think it's still a possibility. But they're I haven't heard the. Are you ever going to have kids? Oh, I really like that one. I thought you were going to stay with her. Yeah, that's. I think they've gotten over that one.
Oh yeah. I'm like, Mom, my brother has 4 kids. That's 2 for both of us.
Sure.
We're good.
Yeah. And if you have a sibling,
here.
if you have a sibling that already has, you already have grandkids. What are you bugging me for?
Yeah, but you don't have any.
Yeah, because I don't need that problem.
You can't say that to Mom.
Yeah, no, she doesn't seem to get that, because if she did get that, you wouldn't be here.
That's true. I never had a grandma meet, a girlfriend or anything.
I have.
My mom was the worst.
Grandma seems more judgmental.
Well, she can be.
Yeah, Grandma.
She's free to.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly it. It's like Grandma knows.
Grandma can say anything.
She can say anything. She's already paid her dues.
She's still alive.
Yeah,
I can say anything I want right now.
She paid her dues, and her opinion, no matter what it is open to anyone that she feels like delivering it to. Yeah, that's how old people kind of get,
Yeah. And at that point when I realized that my mom liked this girl, it made a lot of things made sense at this point, and I also learned to never, ever trust my mom's judgment on women.
Yes,
because it was the girl who got pregnant with the other guy.
Oh man, yeah, that can happen too. Yeah. Well, guys, on that note, I think we've about killed this topic for now. So we're going to go ahead and head out of here. Show notes and other info can be found at our website, greatdistraction.com. If you'd like to get in contact with us, you can do so using the email greatdistraction@gmail.com. We always welcome any thoughts, comments, or questions. If you'd like to keep up on the latest from us, you can do so in many different ways. You can add us on your favorite RSS feed tracker. The link is available on our website or in iTunes. You can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, all at Great Distraction, one word. If you'd like to help support us, so we can keep this show going, we do have a Patreon account, and you can find it by searching their website for Great Distraction. We have a lot of cool gifts there, depending on what donation level you choose. And after all that, thank you very much for listening. And until next time, try and stay not broken up. Show notes and other info can be found at our website, greatdistraction.com. The Great Distraction is listed in iTunes, and we greatly appreciate it when our listeners take the time to look us up and leave us a 5-star rating and review. That helps our show grow and motivates us to continue producing content. If you'd like to get in contact with us, you can do so using the email address, greatdistractionpodcast@gmail.com, or via our website. We're always interested in hearing any thoughts, comments, or questions from our listeners. Keeping up on the latest from us can be done in several different ways. You can add us to your favorite RSS feed tracker. The link is available on our website or in iTunes. Or you can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Just search for Great Distraction, one word, no space. As always, thank you for listening, and thank you for all the support.